After years of being ignored, I left the family chat, and what followed was war. It wasn't a dramatic exit, no grand speech or mic drop moment. I just tapped Leave Group on my phone, the little notification chiming softly as I set it face down on the kitchen counter. The decision had been brewing for months, maybe years, but that moment felt final, like closing a book I'd been struggling to read. My family, Mom, Dad, my older sister Claire, and younger brother Ethan hadn't noticed me slipping away. Not really. The group chat, once a lively hub of memes, holiday plans, and random check-ins, had become a one-sided stage for Claire's wedding updates and Ethan's startup pitches. My messages, whether a quick, "Hey, got a promotion," or a photo of my new apartment, sank like stones in a pond, barely rippling before disappearing. I'm 29, the middle child, living in Chicago, a graphic designer who's carved out a decent life 800 miles from our hometown in Ohio. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the peacemaker, always smoothing over Claire's tantrums or Ethan's reckless stunts. Mom called me her steady hand, but that label started to feel like a cage. In the chat, I was still that hand, liking posts, dropping heart emojis, asking follow-up questions nobody answered. I'd scroll through their messages, feeling like a ghost at my own family's table. The final straw came last month when I shared a link to my latest project, a branding campaign I'd poured 6 months into. Crickets. But when Claire posted her save the date card an hour later, the chat exploded with confetti emojis and exclamation points. Leaving wasn't about spite, it was survival. I'd spent years chasing their attention, molding myself to fit their rhythms, but I was done. The first few days after I left were quiet, blissfully so. I muted their numbers, not out of anger, but to protect the fragile calm I was building. I threw myself into work, met friends for drinks at a dive bar in Wicker Park, and started journaling again, something I hadn't done since college. But by day 4, the silence broke. Claire texted first. "Really? You just leave? What's your deal?" Then Ethan. "Yo, you okay or just being dramatic?" Mom's voicemail was the kicker, her voice tight with that patented mix of guilt and accusation. "We're worried. Sweetheart, this isn't like you. Call me." Dad, predictably, stayed silent. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish them, but because I didn't know how to explain the ache of being invisible in a family that claimed to love me. I stared at their messages, my thumb hovering over the reply button, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, the Chicago skyline glittering in the distance. For the first time in years, I felt like I was choosing myself, but deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. My family doesn't do quiet exits. So, they'd come for answers, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the fight. The days after my family's initial texts turned into a relentless barrage. Claire's messages grew sharper, each one laced with that older sister superiority she'd wielded since we were kids. "You're acting like a child," she wrote, followed by a screenshot of my left the group notification, as if I needed proof of my own decision. Ethan, true to form, swung between joking, "What? You too cool for us now?" and passive-aggressive jabs, "Guess you don't need family anymore." Mom's voicemails piled up, each one longer, her tone shifting from worry to frustration. "We're a family," she said in one, her voice cracking. "You don't just walk away," Dad finally chimed in with a single text. "Call your mother." Classic Dad, 4 words to dodge the mess. I kept them muted, but I couldn't stop checking. Each notification lit up my phone like a flare, pulling me back to the chaos I'd tried to escape. At work, I'd catch myself staring at my laptop, the cursor blinking on a half-finished design, while my mind replayed their words. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I just wanted to breathe without feeling like I was begging for their attention. But the more I stayed silent, the more they pushed, and the guilt started creeping in. What if I was overreacting? What if I'd misread years of their indifference as intentional? Then came the group call. I was cooking dinner, spaghetti, nothing fancy, when my phone buzzed on the counter. Claire's name popped up, but the call was a video chat with all of them. Mom, Dad, Ethan, and Claire's fiancé, Mark, who I'd only met twice. I froze, the pot hissing behind me. Decline. My finger hit the button before I could second guess it, but the phone buzzed again immediately. And again, 4 missed calls later. I turned it off and ate alone, the pasta tasteless. My stomach knotted. The next morning, I unmuted them, bracing myself. Claire had sent a novel-length text, accusing me of sabotaging her wedding planning by causing drama. Ethan forwarded a meme of a sulky toddler with the caption, "You right now." Mom's latest voicemail was softer, almost pleading. "I don't understand what we did wrong. Just talk to us." I wanted to scream. They didn't get it. They never had. It wasn't about one missed message or a single slight. It was years of being the afterthought, the one who had to smile and nod while everyone else took center stage. I typed a reply to Mom, then deleted it. Same with Claire. Instead, I called my best friend, Jess, who'd moved to Chicago with me after college, over coffee at a cafe near my apartment. I spilled everything, the chat, the texts, the call. Jess listened, her eyes narrowing as I read Claire's latest message aloud. "They're mad because you're not playing their game anymore," she said, stirring her latte. "You're not the problem here." Her words stuck with me, but so did the doubt. I'd spent my life keeping the peace. Could I really stand my ground now? That night, I got an email from Claire. Not a text, an email, formal and cold, like she was addressing a coworker. She'd set a date for a family meeting over Zoom, insisting I owe them an explanation. The word owe burned in my chest. I didn't owe them my silence, my compliance, my invisibility. For the first time, I felt anger, real, sharp anger, cutting through the guilt. I wasn't ready to talk, but I knew one thing. When I did, it wouldn't be on their terms. The Zoom meeting was set for Sunday at 7 p.m. Claire's email had included a calendar invite, complete with a passive-aggressive note. "Please confirm attendance." I didn't reply, but by Sunday afternoon, I knew I couldn't dodge it, not because I felt guilty, but because the anger that had been simmering since her "oh" comment was now a steady boil. I needed to say my piece, even if it meant walking into a lion's den. I set up my laptop on the kitchen table, poured a glass of water, and logged in 5 minutes early, my heart pounding like I was about to give a presentation to a hostile client. They were all there when the call connected. Claire, front and center, her lips pursed. Ethan, slouched with a smirk. Mom, fidgeting with her glasses. Dad, stone-faced, and Mark, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The silence was thick, broken only by Claire clearing her throat. "So, you finally showed up," she said, her tone clipped. "Care to explain why you've been ghosting us?" I took a breath, steadying myself. "I left the chat because I was tired of being ignored," I said, my voice calmer than I felt. "I've been trying to share my life with you, my work, my wins, my struggles, and it's like I don't exist unless I'm clapping for one of you. I'm done feeling invisible." Claire rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, you're blowing this out of proportion." "We're busy, okay? I'm planning a wedding. Ethan's got his company, Mom and Dad have their own stuff. You can't expect us to respond to every little thing you post." "Every little thing?" I snapped, the words sharper than I'd planned. "A promotion isn't little. My work isn't little. I'm not asking for a parade. Claire, just a sign you give a damn." The room went quiet. Ethan shifted in his seat, his smirk gone. Mom's eyes widened, but she didn't speak. Dad finally leaned forward. "Watch your tone," he said, his voice low. "We're your family. You don't get to talk to us like that." "Do you even know what I do for a living?" Dad, I shot back. Do any of you? Because I've been in Chicago for 6 years, and I can count on one hand the times you've asked about my life. My hands were shaking now, but I kept going. I left because I was tired of begging for scraps of your attention, and now you're mad because I stopped trying. Mom's voice broke in, soft and trembling. Sweetheart, we didn't mean to make you feel that way. Why didn't you say something sooner? Her words stung, not because they were wrong, but because they missed the point. I'd been saying something for years through every unanswered text, every ignored milestone. I did, I said quietly. You just weren't listening. Claire jumped in, her face flushed. This is ridiculous. You're making us out to be the bad guys when you're the one who bailed. Do you know how stressed I've been? My wedding's in 3 months, and you're pulling this stunt now? That was it. The dam broke. It's always about you. Claire! I shouted, my voice echoing in my tiny apartment. Your wedding, your drama, your life. I'm not your audience. I'm your sister, and I deserve more than being your cheerleader while you treat me like I'm nothing. The call went silent again, but this time it felt different, like I'd cracked something open. Ethan looked away, scratching his neck. Mark mumbled something about needing water and left the frame. Mom was crying now, and Dad's jaw was tight, but he didn't speak. Claire stared at me, her mouth half open, like she couldn't believe I'd dared to raise my voice. I didn't wait for them to respond. I'm not doing this anymore, I said. I love you all, but I'm done chasing you. If you want me in your lives, show it. Otherwise, I'm not coming back. I ended the call, my screen going black, and sat there, my pulse racing, tears burning my eyes. I'd said what I needed to, but the weight of it, of finally standing up for myself, felt heavier than I'd expected. The days after the Zoom call felt like walking through fog, disorienting, heavy, but strangely clarifying. I didn't hear from my family for a week, and the silence was louder than their texts had ever been. I kept expecting the old guilt to creep in, the urge to apologize and smooth things over, but it didn't come. Instead, I felt raw, like I'd shed a skin I'd outgrown. I threw myself into my routine, work, gym, drinks with Jess, but every quiet moment brought the same question: had I gone too far, or not far enough? The first to break the silence was Ethan. His text came late one night, simple but unexpected. Hey, I didn't realize how much we were shutting you out. I'm sorry. Can we talk? No memes, no jabs, just him. For once, I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to protect the walls I'd built, but another part, the part that remembered us sneaking cookies as kids, softened. I replied, yeah, let's talk. But it's gotta be real. We set a time for a call, just the two of us. Ethan's call was awkward at first. He admitted he'd been caught up in his startup, chasing investors and hype, and hadn't noticed how one-sided the family dynamic had become. I thought you were just fine, you know? You're always so chill, he said. I laughed, but it was bitter. Chill doesn't mean I don't need you to show up. Ethan, he went quiet, then promised to do better. It wasn't a fix, but it was a start, and for the first time, I felt like he saw me. Mom reached out next, a long email that felt like her voicemails in written form, part apology, part defense. She wrote about how hard it was to balance 3 kids, how she thought I was independent and didn't need as much attention. It hurt to read, but I appreciated the effort. I wrote back, keeping it short but honest. I needed you to see me. Mom, I still do. Let's try again. We've been texting since, small steps. Her asking about my latest project. Me asking about her garden. It's fragile, but it's something. Claire and Dad were tougher. Claire sent a half-hearted text a month later, saying she was sorry if. I felt ignored but insisting I'd overreacted. I didn't respond. If she couldn't meet me halfway, I wasn't going to chase her. Dad called once, gruff as ever, and said, "We're family. That's enough." I told him it wasn't, not anymore. He hasn't reached out since, and I'm not sure he will. That stings, but I'm learning to let it. I rejoined the family chat, but on my terms. I don't post as much, and I don't wait for their replies like I used to. I'm focusing on my life, new clients, a painting class, a trip to Seattle with Jess planned for spring. I'm not the peacemaker anymore, and I'm okay with that. I love my family, but I love myself too. And for the first time, that feels like enough. Thanks for reading my story. It's been a wild ride, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment, share if it hit home, or just give it a like if you're feeling it. Family drama's universal, right?